Welcome to the Performance Plastics Podcast, hosted by IAPD, the only podcast dedicated to providing you information and insights into the world of engineering-grade plastics and how they benefit society by improving the quality of everyday life. Now here's your host, Kylie Canty.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the Performance Plastics Podcast. My name is Kylie Canty, and I'm the Marketing and Education Manager for the IAPD and your host. I am so excited to share my conversation with Chris Corona of CartierWilson today. Chris is the principal at CartierWilson LLC and the board liaison to the IAPD Education Committee. He is a highly experienced sales representative with skills in market research, account management, and marketing. Today's chat will give you some insight into his career and his journey to his new leadership position as a new member of the board of directors here at IAPD. Without further ado, here is my conversation with Chris Corona. Welcome, Chris, to the Performance Plastics Podcast. Thank you for joining me on here today. Would you mind just doing a quick, brief introduction of yourself to everyone?
Yeah, thanks, Kai. Happy to be here. Chris Corona. I'm the principal at CartierWilson. We're a manufacturer's rep agency in the performance plastics industry. I've been involved with the industry for the last 16 years. My first, which we can probably, I'm sure you'll ask me about, my first IAPD event was going on 15 years ago. So it's been a great career, and it's very interesting to kind of look back and talk a little bit about it today for sure.
Yes, and you are also one of our new board members as of this last convention in September.
Yes, quite honored to take that on. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, yeah, we're very excited to have you. So let's just jump right into it. I'm really curious to hear about how you got into the performance plastics industry, because it's not usually something that kids dream about getting into when they get older. But can you talk a bit about how you kind of got into it, or what your background was in?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely not something I dreamed about. You know, I probably like most people I think I went through the various iterations of wanting to be a doctor and a fireman, but all that stuff. But
of course,
no,
yes.
So I yeah, exactly. So when I was in, so I went to school at SUNY Binghamton in Southern Tier, New York State. Incidentally went to school for biochemistry. So, was kind of in these, science programs and liked the curriculum, but, knew that probably wasn't, being in hard sciences wasn't going to be my long-term career. So at the same time, I worked, various, retail jobs when I was in college. Actually, my last stint was at Radio Shack, which, maybe some of the people
R.I.P.
listeners, yes, no Radio Shack intimately for all their various electronic parts and good speakers and cell phones and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I kind of fell in love with the idea of being in a sales or people type career when I was, in that job, and all my other retail experiences as well. And I think, a lot of people in this industry have, a similar background of being either in retail or food service, interacting with people, solving problems with people. So at any rate, I graduated from college and still didn't really knew what I wanted to do. As I think a lot of people, get to that situation where you graduate from school and you're like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So I had a friend, a good friend of mine, whose father owned a little plastics company out in Ohio called Boltron. So Larry Shore, the owner of Boltron, they were basically looking for a trainee who had, some sort of technical background in college to basically go out to the plant, learn the company from, the inside out, do, work the floor, work in customer service, and kind of get brought up in the sales world, with that sort of production and more on the floor background. So went out to Boltron. It was funny. I remember I basically moved from New York State out to Eastern Ohio admittedly a little bit in the middle of nowhere. I remember, my parents, helped me pack up my U-Haul and moved out there, and they thought I was, maybe a little bit crazy. But
I'm assuming everybody that you met at the time was like, "You came from New York? Why did you
yeah,
come to Ohio?"
yeah. Well, they know, I grew up in Rochester, New York, incidentally,
Yeah.
which is, everybody thinks New York is all the same. Western New York
Mhm.
is a bit of a different animal, but still, it was still different from
Yeah.
Newcomerstown, Ohio, where Bolteron was. But honestly, it was the best, decision that I could have possibly made. And so I went through the training program, worked in the plant for 2 years, and in customer service for quite a bit of that as well. Had the opportunity to go out on the road at that point and call on the local IAPD distributors and end users that we had in Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. And then, so during that time, incidentally, I was fortunate enough to be reporting into Adam Mellon, who many listening to this might know from IAPD quite well, current CEO of Simona. So he really was kind of my mentor coming up in the industry while I was working at Bolteron. So after a couple of years, I had the opportunity. Actually, it was about 4 years after I started Bolteron. Had the opportunity to join him at CartierWilson and took over the Great Lakes territory. Randy Kirkpatrick and the team at Artec were pleasant enough to give me the opportunity to represent their line as well. And yeah, that's pretty much my entrance into the industry. It's basically a story of a lot of really great people giving me ample opportunity, and I can't be grateful enough for all that opportunity. It's been a great ride for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. What a journey. What can you explain what because CartierWilson is a manufacturer's representative. Can you explain what that is to somebody that might not know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's interesting. There's, obviously a lot of ways that companies can go to market with their sales strategy, and there's not necessarily a right way or a wrong way. I think, for a lot of manufacturers within the IAPD community, the manufacturer's rep model makes a lot of sense. For one, basically, we take on multiple manufacturers, and we, go into an IAPD distributor, and we offer these, very synergistic lines and one sales call. So it's a very, I think for the distribution community, we're a very efficient group of people to work with, and that, we can have lots of conversations on lots of different lines and one sales call. And likewise for a manufacturer, I think manufacturers value the insight that we can bring to their companies at a strategic level, as well as just offering that efficient sales channel for them. So yeah, it's actually been, and then for me personally, it's been so great to grow in the IAPD community. I haven't really had to leave jobs. I'm still representing Bolteron, 16 years later from after I started.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
I've gotten to add some other things and get exposed to a lot of other things. So that's been really cool to be able to grow in that way and not leave old friends behind. It's just been more additive in that way. So it's been very cool that way.
So one thing I noticed, meeting everybody in this industry is there's so much longevity in these positions. Can you speak to why you've, stayed in this industry for so long? If maybe there's somebody like a newcomer that's just entering the performance plastics industry less than 3 to 5 years, what are the benefits of working? Of course, you talked about like the people and the amazing networking that you get, but what other reasons have you kind of just stayed in this industry?
So I think you're right. This industry, there is a lot of loyalty in it. And I think the big thing is, and this has kind of been a theme in my life, is that, loyalty is a two-way street. You get loyalty if you get loyalty if you give it back. And I think, in this industry in particular, I think it offers, there's a lot of industries where you get into it and you get pretty much capped at a certain level. You might, very few people might be able to get onto the next level, but I would say there is ample opportunity in this industry to start at the ground level. And if you're loyal, if you do what you say you're going to do, and follow through, you're going to be successful. I mean, it's definitely an industry that you can grow with. I think people recognize that. People, and that's why people stay in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love hearing that from, everybody that I talk to. They're like, oh, I've been in the industry for 10 years, 16 years, 30 years, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really great to see, because it's, we just wrapped up that workforce development task force, the recruitment videos.
Which is absolutely fantastic work that everybody on the task force did on that. It's, really, really a great product that they put out with those videos.
Yeah, we're so excited to finally debut them. And we talked to a big diverse group of people, a lot that were a little bit younger, that just started in the industry, some that were more like seasoned in the industry. And it was just so interesting to hear their perspectives. And it kind of all wrapped up into that same thing. Like, if you get in what you get out, and there's so much stability in a career in the performance plastics industry, because they're truthfully not going to go anywhere.
Yep, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more, for sure.
So, how has IAPD helped in your career personally and professionally? And I'm curious to hear, like, of course, I know the formalities of how to get to the board, but if somebody's listening to this that, maybe aspires to be in a position like that one day, what kind of advice would you give them, or what is the process to do that?
Yeah. So, obviously I'm just new on the board this year. I think I said, my first IAPD event was 15 years ago. It was actually at a Midwest golf outing that George Southard. Yeah, George Southard put on. Actually, I remember very clearly being at his house for the cocktail reception. And yeah, George, if you're listening, good luck in your retirement next year.
George, congrats.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, the big thing is, you don't have to be a board member to have an outsized impact. In fact, I would say that there's a lot of non-board members who are probably far more impactful than anybody that's on the board. I mean, myself included. You could go down the list of the hardworking people on the committees. I mean,
Truly.
on my team, we have Dina Baker, who's been phenomenal with everything that she's done with the Women in Plastics group, and Pete Dahlmeyer, who has been fantastic with the Education Committee. Definitely the kind of stuff that I look up to and inspire when I'm looking at how people have contributed, and the list goes on. I mean, there's just so many great contributors. So yeah, that's the first thing I would say. You don't have to be a board member to have an outsized impact. But I think it's as far as what the IAPD has given me as a manufacturer's rep. So as a manufacturer's rep, it really is the ideal venue for career growth. I mean, we get to see our customers, we get to see our principal partners. It's all in one place. So it's, for me, my involvement, it's been not only a great networking opportunity, but, working with, fellow companies, we might, in some ways we might sometimes compete, but we always work together for the betterment of the entire industry when we're in the IAPD events. And that's just been, I mean, it's rewarding. And it's just a super, it's just been a phenomenal experience throughout my career. And then was there another part to your question I missed, Kai?
No, I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah. I've noticed that too. And since I'm pretty, new to IAPD, I'm still learning like who's competitor, et cetera, but it's hard to tell because everybody's so friendly to each other.
Yeah.
So it's like, really? They're competitors? Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean,
there's so much camaraderie.
No, it is. I mean, it's, we all get together, we all, have fun and, yeah, and just, work together for the betterment of everybody.
Yeah, I love it. It's amazing. So do you travel a lot for work, or what's like kind of like a week in the life of Chris Corona?
That's an interesting question. So yeah, no, I absolutely do quite a bit of travel. Obviously, COVID, I think, put a bit of a wrench in everybody's travel schedules for a while. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm on the road quite a bit. It's I have found, getting back, ever since COVID ended, I've been fortunate enough, I basically took on the responsibilities at CartierWilson, along with Alicia, on my team, and the beginning of 2021. And so, yeah, I mean, when I'm on the road, I'm seeing customers, I'm at IAPD events, I'm working with our principals on our strategy and all those types of things. Yeah, when I'm in the home office, it's typically, I put on my headphones, I pace around my house on conference calls all day, like a lot of people do. That's how I log my steps, by pacing around.
You need to get one of those desk treadmills, or I guess just a regular treadmill.
Yeah, I got, for whatever reason, I got to move whenever I'm talking. It's like,
Yeah.
even on these Zoom calls, I get really antsy. I have to be,
Me too.
I've got to be walking back and forth between my family room and living room. But no, it's obviously, just like everybody else, a lot of conference calls, a lot of still a lot of Zoom meetings and team meetings with customers and whatnot. And, I think that's probably going to be the new normal probably for a while. Obviously, we're all getting back into seeing people, seeing customers, seeing everybody, but this is all still pretty integral to what we do as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like just this year, everybody's been kind of returning to travel. So whenever I like call somebody, or, they're like, I'm in the car, I'm on the road, I'm getting on a plane, I'm like, whoa. So everybody's returning back to their travel very quickly, which is good to see.
No, it is. And it's important. I mean, there's no, especially in sales, there's no replacement for face-to-face conversations. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the best conversations that you have are the ones outside the meeting room. It's in the hallway. It's at the lunch table, wherever it is. That's where you can, that's where you really find the most success, I think. So it's no replacement for it.
Yeah, and that's some interesting advice too, to maybe maybe some young people that will be entering their career, that have entered their career during COVID, that may not understand the impact of face-to-face quite yet, to kind of put yourself out there a little bit more, because truly the best interactions do happen outside of the meeting room most of the time. So.
Yep. It's the unplanned meetings, right?
Yep.
If you're just clicking one meeting after another in your calendar, and you're never going to get quite there. So I think people fundamentally understand that, and
Yeah.
and I think what's interesting, and I have a lot of sympathy with, is, I mean, I've been a remote worker for one way or the other for, the past, 13 years of my career. I mean, I've been, traveling and then, working out of a home office. And, so, I have a lot of sympathy for the fact that a lot of people, this is kind of been a new world. And now that everybody is going back to the office, I think, we're going to have this sort of afterburn effect of, the Teams meetings and Zoom meetings for a while. But, even for internal company cultures, I mean, there's no replacement for, having people work in an office. I don't think.
Completely. So just to kind of wrap everything up, I'm curious to hear how you explain your job to family and friends, because it could have a negative connotation, but I'm just curious to hear how you explain what you do if you're at a Thanksgiving table with people you don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's obviously there's the first answer, which is in plastic. I'm in plastics, and if it's somebody I'm actually interested in talking to more talking to
Yeah,
more
right.
afterwards.
You shut it down or you give up.
Yeah, I'm in plastics. Yeah,
Yeah.
go. But no, but no, I mean, obviously, like what I do is, I'm in the performance plastics industry. I think everybody, tries to tie in, their, what they do with, with something that people, can relate to in their lives. So, in my career, I've dealt a lot in the aerospace industry, in commercial aircraft
Oh,
interiors.
interesting.
So, I'll say, hey, when was the last time you went on a plane? All those different materials that you touch while you're sitting on the seat, the window shades or the seat backs or the tray tables. That's what I do. And how much fuel those plastics save by saving weight. We're really helping make the planet a better place by making sure these planes are at least somewhat efficient to fly. And if I'm talking to somebody that has more of an industrial background, I'll talk about the fact that I've had the opportunity to sell products like UHMW, which helps all these manufacturing facilities with conveying lines operate efficiently, in ways that you can't do just with metal. So it kind of depends on the audience, but fundamentally, I think when you start talking to people, most people understand the difference between performance plastics and disposable plastics. And people are into it, and I think we all have to kind of tell that story for sure.
Yeah. No, definitely. I love that yours is your kind of go-to the plane example, because I kind of resonate with that one too. When I it's
yeah, no, well,
cars and planes. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a good one, but everybody has kind of their own story to tell. So
yeah, absolutely. I said that would be the last question I asked, but it's not. What is the most favorite part of your job? Is it helping find solution? Like, what is your favorite part of what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's changed, throughout, the years. I mean, when I started and I was just calling on customers, my favorite part was, going in and giving, a lunch presentation and just getting really good questions back, that feeling that, people's eyes weren't glazed over. They were interactive and asking great questions, I would go home, feeling awesome at that. Now, and this is an area where I'm still growing and learning, is, in a leadership position. It's it's helping to, change, the people that, work for us as lives. And it's that, like I said, it's an area that I still have a lot to learn in. I've had this leadership role now for, it'll be 2 years now. And thankfully I have a tremendous team, behind me that have made it very easy. But definitely working with them has been a highlight of my career especially over the last couple of years, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on, I would have never known it was only 2 years in this current leadership role. Do you have any?
It's gone quick.
Yeah. Do you have any advice to anybody stepping into a leadership role, or like advice in general when it comes to sales or anything like that?
So I would say, and this is kind of, like I said, one of my main mentors. I've had many mentors, but my main mentor, Adam Mellon, I think, he definitely, raised me up with the core value of, open, honest communication and transparency with whoever you work with. And, that to me, I mean, in every aspect of my life has been tremendous. I mean, and, especially as a rep, because, sometimes what we do is a little odd, I mean, we're working with a lot of different companies, and, having that open, honest communication with everybody at all times, and having that trust, with everybody. I remember there was a couple of years back, there was a speaker at our conference that talked about trust. That trust is the currency of business, and that rings so true to me.
Really?
No, absolutely. And I built my career on that. I hope I haven't, I'm sure I've been in, lots of positions where I've had to, I've had disagreements with various people that we worked with, but at the end of the day, I think people, because I was, or at least was trying to be open and honest and communicative as possible, people understood where I was coming from. So I hope, nobody feels like I've ever betrayed their trust in business. I don't think I have. I guess if I have, you can drop me a line.
Yeah.
let me know.
Oh no, this is actually a campaign.
But
no,
no,
Chris,
I mean,
you are the best. You are the sweetest. I highly doubt, but you can email me.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think that's something that I've lived by, and that would be the biggest piece of advice is I can give anybody. And it's not always the easiest being, completely, transparent, honest, but it's and open, but it's definitely paid dividends in my career for sure.
That's fantastic. Well, if do you have any other final thoughts you'd like to share with our Performance Plastics audience?
I don't think so, Kai. Like I said, I'm very excited to be, in this new board position. I would say I don't, I'm not walking into it with any preconceived notions or, any agenda. I guess the one agenda I have is, I'm very excited to be getting more involved with the PAC and, the political side of things. That's something that I'm very much looking forward to leaning into. But other than that, I'm just excited to have the opportunity to contribute. I think we've got a great board now, and with Deborah and Pete, great leadership and
fantastic, yeah,
executive committee. So I'm feel very fortunate to be coming into the board now, and look forward to working with everybody.
Absolutely. Well, we are thrilled to have you. And Chris, I really cannot say thank you enough for coming on here today and sharing some pieces of advice and tidbits of your career with me in the audience. I know that everybody really takes this to heart, and they really like to use it and listen. So I really just appreciate it. So thank you so much. And before we pop off, can I please do a Zoom picture with you?
You can.
Okay, I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Wait, I have to go closer, or is that good? Okay.
Oh no, I got it. Perfect.
All right.
When I do the screenshot, I have to make sure I'm smiling, but also pressing the right button, and then everything freezes.
Yeah, not have your eyes going into the bottom corner while you're doing it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. I just really can't say thank you enough. And of course, our new Education Committee board liaison too. So that's how this whole thing even started.
Very excited about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next month in our City of Fountains in Kansas City.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll see you, Kai.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
This podcast was brought to you by the International Association of Plastics Distribution. For more information on IAPD, please visit our website at www.iapd.org.